The new Flashpoint R2 Nano transmitter is quite an impressive piece of equipment considering it's the smallest touchscreen transmitter out there, has a lot of excellent features on it, and it's also less than $100 at $89, which is way more affordable than some $400 options out there that have less features that certain companies sell. Even though the R2 Nano transmitter has been available for more than a year now, I did want to give it some time before I made my review on the transmitter because it had been on back order for quite some time, and I also wanted to gain more personal experience with the transmitter at different photo shoots I've done as well. I wanted to start off this review by doing a very quick unboxing of the R2 Nano transmitter, so that's the box right here. I actually did an unboxing on my Instagram at FJHphoto in case you want to see that. But basically this is the box, and I'm going to take off the cover, and you're going to find a QR code, which is going to be right here, which you can scan to get all the different information about the transmitter, like the manual. And then in the box itself is going to be this little carrying case that has Flashpoint on it, and the transmitter is going to be inside of that. And there also is a USB-C cord that came with this transmitter, but I couldn't find it, so just know that there is going to be a USB-C specifically inside the box as well. So now I'm just going to open it up and show you guys exactly how it looks like. So here is the R2 Nano transmitter. I'm going to put it close to the screen so you guys can see exactly how it looks like, but it's a small little guy. I'm going to show you guys how it compares to the other transmitters right now. I don't have all the Flashpoint transmitters, but I do have a few here, which are going to be more than enough to show you guys the difference in size. So here again is the R2 Nano, and I'm going to show you guys it next to the R2 Pro transmitter, which is the one that I was using previously to using the R2 Nano itself. And here is the R2 T2, which is the updated version of this transmitter right here, which is the one that a lot of people start off with, which is called the Godox X1T when you get the Godox version, but it's the R2T when you get it from Flashpoint. And in case you want another example of how small it is, this is a Sony lens cap, and it's actually smaller, just slightly smaller than the Sony lens cap. Basically, the R2 Nano transmitter is very small and portable, which is going to be a huge plus for anybody that likes to travel light, or basically anybody that needs to travel with the transmitter and not have it take up too much space. Another excellent upgrade that the R2 Nano transmitter has is a new rich and colorful display that makes it very easy to read in very bright Texas sunlight that I have experienced at noon. I can definitely read the display very easily, which is something that I wasn't able to do with the older transmitters. Here is a quick look of the display in case you guys are curious about it, but I'm going to put it to the side, turn it off, and show you guys all the different things around the Nano transmitter before I go into the menu and show you guys more of the display. The very first thing I wanted to show you guys on the R2 Nano is going to be the new upgraded metal hot shoe, which is right here. You guys can see that it's much stronger than the previous plastic ones that were on the older transmitters. Even though it hasn't personally happened to me, I know that there's different photographers over the years that have experienced the hot shoes on Sony speedlights or Sony transmitters that have broken because of the hot shoe being made out of plastic, but thankfully that's now an issue of the past with this metal hot shoe, and I'm pretty sure any sort of future transmitters will also have a metal hot shoe as well. I wanted to show you guys the metal hot shoe again because the next thing I want to talk about is going to be the little button that you need to press to put the transmitter onto cameras or to put on the little protection cover. So I'm going to show you guys that right now. I'm going to press the little button on top, and then I'm going to put the cover on and then release the button, and now the little cover is on. Slightly above that release button is a USB-C port, and that USB-C port is going to be important to not only charge the transmitter but also do any sort of firmware updates. And there was actually a very big update about slightly more than 2 months ago that added some really nice features to the Nano, including the legacy hot shoe mode, as well as the color group indicator, which is a feature that shows you different colors for different groups. That's going to be a feature that's on the latest Flashpoint lights like the 600 SE, the 600 Pro 2, and the Evolve Pro 2. And in case you guys are curious about the battery life of the Nano transmitter, just know that this was something that I was really concerned about before I got my own Nano transmitter. And after using it for several months now, more than half a year, I can tell you from experience that it lasts a very, very long time. So you shouldn't have to worry about the battery life. Without even thinking about what type of photo shoots you do, I can tell you that it'll last more than 10 photo shoots easily before you need to recharge it again. I was actually told specifically how long it should last, how long it's rated for, and it was either 6,000 or 60,000 shots at full power, at full battery life. So if you guys want to know the specifics on that, I'll get confirmation on what that number is, and I'll put it in the description area below. And whenever you do eventually run out of battery, it goes from 0 to 100% in 2 hours. And finally, on the right side of the transmitter, you're going to see several things. You're going to see a test fire button here on the left. You're going to have a menu / power on button in the center there. And then you're going to have this little dial right here, which you can rotate and click on whenever you want to make certain adjustments on the transmitter once it's on. So now I have the Nano transmitter on my Sony a7R III, and now I wanting to power it on using the middle button, that power on button, for about 2 seconds, you see a Flashpoint logo, and then you see finally the display of all the different information on the screen itself. On the top left, you'll see what channel the transmitter is currently set to. There's going to be a camera icon when the camera and the transmitter are both on. There's going to be a high-speed sync symbol right there in case you have that feature enabled. And then on the top right, you have a battery life indicator. Here in the center, you can see which groups are enabled. In my case, that's going to be A, B, and C. And you can actually see that all the different groups have a color dedicated to that group. So A is going to be red, B is green, and C is going to be blue. You can also see what power output those groups are set to. And here on the bottom, you have a plus and minus icon. That is going to be a helpful feature in case you want to change the power of all the different groups at the same time. Let's say, for example, you have your settings perfectly dialed in, your flash and your camera settings, but then you make an adjustment to the aperture to be 2 stops darker. Well, now your flashes are going to be 2 stops darker, and you need to change them all to be 2 stops brighter. You can do that right here with the plus icon, and now all the different groups are 2 stops brighter. You could have also used the dial right here to change the power output of all the different lights, or you can simply just go left and right here on this section of the transmitter. If you go too far to the right, you can see that there's going to be a little shake whenever you reach the maximum output, and that's also going to happen when you go all the way to the left and you go to the lowest output. It's telling you, hey, this is the lowest and this is the highest. But of course, you can also change the power output of the groups individually. So the way to do that is you can either click on this and then change the power output right here, or you can actually just stay where you're at right there and then swipe left and right on the different groups. But let's say, for example, you're using just one light. Well, you would want to have this full display of that group here on the transmitter instead of being right here where it shows all the different other groups. And speaking of groups, you can actually enable more than just A, B, and C, and I'll show you guys exactly how to do that. If you swipe up, you can see this little option right there, this little menu that goes into the groups. I'm going to tap on that, and you can see A, B, and C is enabled, but you can actually enable D, E, F, 0, 1, 2, all the way to 9, and all those groups are now enabled, so you can see all of those there. But for me personally, I just want to stick to A, B, and C, so I'm going to just take all the other groups off. When you go to the full display of each group, you can see there are a couple of different options. You can turn on the modeling lamp, you can change from manual to TTL, or you could just turn off the light. I'm gonna push pause, and you can see that there's a little pause icon there. So when I swipe away, you could see that group A is now off. And to quickly turn it back on, you can just tap on it and you can see that it's now on. But I like to stick to manual settings, so I'm gonna just change it back to manual. So now let me finally go into the menu. I can either again click this menu button right here or swipe down from the top right, and you can see that there's gonna be a icon so you can turn on the beep of the light. Right now it's on, right now it's off. You could turn on the modeling lamp of all the different groups. You can actually see right now next to the groups, you can see there's a little light bulb icon, and I'm gonna just turn off that so you can see that it's no longer enabled and it's off. There's also a lock icon right there that'll lock the screen so you can not make any sort of accidental adjustments. And to unlock it, you just simply hold the screen for about 2 seconds and then it'll unlock. Back to this menu, you can see there is also multi and settings. Settings is going to have all the different custom functions, but I'm going to show you guys multi really quickly. That's going to be stroboscopic mode, which I never really use. So I just wanted to quickly show you guys that, all the different hertz and times you can make the light flash, but I don't ever use this feature. So I'm going to just click on home and it'll bring it back to what I previously had it onto, which is not multi-mode. And finally here where it says setting, I'm going to tap on that and you can see there's a lot of other settings that I want to quickly go through. The top left where it says wireless is where you can change the channel and the ID of the light, and where you can also enable the wireless sync feature, which is a new feature where you turn this feature on both the light and the transmitter, and it syncs both of them together. Next to wireless is going to be sync, where you enable high-speed sync or just change it to not be in high-speed sync. And this is something that I actually wish was not the case. I wish it just auto-enabled high-speed sync and disabled it, but in case you ever want to strictly not use high-speed sync, I guess it's a good feature to have. You also have shoot, which is going to be perfect whenever you want to use a light meter or you want to simply shoot in a group setting. But if you're shooting by yourself, you want it to be in one shoot. Legacy hotshoe is going to be a mode that you can enable to make the transmitter basically be a dummy transmitter, which is going to have no TTL. It's not going to have any sort of stroboscopic mode, and you can't make any sort of adjustments to the flash. But basically this might be a feature that you want to use whenever you don't want to use high-speed sync and you want to see all the different adjustments and settings that you're making to your Sony camera. Because if you didn't know, once you change your settings on your camera without a transmitter, you can see exactly how the exposure is going to look like. But once you put on a transmitter on your camera, it kind of disables disables that kind of live view settings feature, but with legacy hot shoe mode enabled, which you can tell from this little icon right there on the top, you can actually see exactly how the exposure is going to look like as you're making certain adjustments. So in case that's something that's very important to you, you could enable that feature. And a couple of other options here is going to be where you can change the trigger distance. This is going to be very important in case you have a flash next to the transmitter. You want it to be 0 to 30, but in case you have the light at a little bit of a distance, you always want it to be 1 through 100. Auto off right next to that is going to be where you can change the different times that it takes for the transmitter to turn off. You also have TCM right there. That's going to be a feature that you can use where basically you use TTL, take a shot with TTL, and then you can change your TTL feature to be manual, and it should translate the TTL power to manual. Here in the menu for that option, you do want to change it to be whatever light you're using. So here's speed lights, the 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, or actually not 500, 600, and 1200. So whatever light you're using, you want it to be matching to this option. Next to TCM is step, and that's going to be where you can change the power output display to be either fractions, to be either 1512, 256, 128, or you can have it at full numbers. So 3, 2, or 1 at the lowest output. And you can also change it to be in 1/10 increments or 1/3. And I want to quickly show you guys that right now because this is something that a lot of ProPhoto and Westcott users prefer, the different full numbers. I actually love fractions, so I'm going to change it back to be in the fraction mode. And finally, here on the bottom section, you're going to see zoom, and that's where you can change the zoom of the lights that are adjustable in terms of the zoom. You also have screen, which you can change the brightness of the screen to be brighter or darker, and I have it about like 1/5, maybe 1/6 at the moment, but whenever I'm shooting outdoors, I have it at full brightness. You can also change the standby time to be a certain length of time, 15 seconds all the way up to 3 minutes. And lastly, here on the bottom, you can change the language, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to keep it out of English, or you could reset the transmitter to be factory settings. And the very last thing is device info, which you can see the current firmware and the name of the transmitter itself, R2 Nano S. And that's pretty much my review of the R2 Nano transmitter. I've been using it for more than half a year now, and I love it. Highly recommend it. If you guys have any other questions about this transmitter, let me know in the comments below and I'll reply as soon as possible. I really do hope that this review was helpful to you, and if it was, please consider giving this video a like and also subscribing. For now, I just want to say take care, guys, and I'll see you in the very next video.